All right, I'm now standing outside of the stolen $2.3 million home that Tamika Good has been, I guess, living in for pretty much a year. And she was actually arrested for living here. And you can't really see the house, but it's that house right there, that one. So this is the stolen $2.3 million house that Tamika Good is currently squatting in. That was the first time I ever used this flashlight. I literally bought it today. I did not know it was gonna be that bright. I'm going to leave right now because I'm not trying to disturb this neighborhood. So, how did I end up traveling to Bethesda, Maryland to stand outside of a $2.3 million mansion that someone was just convicted of illegally living in? Well, I was essentially in the neighborhood covering up part 2 for this video, so that was just very convenient that they're like right next to each other. But a few weeks ago, Tamika Good was found guilty on all counts of trespassing and breaking and entering after spending 9 months living inside of a 7,500 square foot bank-owned mansion. And this absolute genius represented herself in court, so naturally the judge didn't really buy her arguments. So he then sentenced her to 90 days in jail. She was then arrested right there in the courtroom, and it actually felt like a solid ending because most of these squatter cases, they last forever and they don't really have any real consequences. But I guess you could say that that one ending was a little bit too good to be true because she served 11 days, posted a $5,000 appeal bond, and within hours of being released, she went right back to the same house.
Get out my face.
Ma'am, why are you in a $2.5 million property?
After months of delays, Good was convicted on all counts on January 22nd, sentenced to 90 days in prison. Pollard continues to face extradition for multiple vehicle theft-related crimes in Pennsylvania. 11 days later, Good was released on appeal on February 2nd after posting a $5,000 cash bond. Activities at the house started again soon after her release. For days, a woman wearing similar shoes and green pants was seen moving in and out of the alleged Bethesda squatter home.
Are you serious? I can't believe this story is real. How do people have this little shame and are this brazen? So security cam footage appears to show her go in and out of the property pretty much immediately after she got out. And just a quick recap, Tamika Good spent 9 months living inside of this mansion. And no, she's a squatter. She did not own it, nor did she rent it, nor did she have any permission to be there. The home was bank owned and tied up in foreclosure issues. So more than likely, she found out about that online where that kind of information is publicly available. She then decided, oh wow, look at that, a free mansion. And she just helped herself to it. And I guess instead of treating it like a temporary situation, she treated it like it was hers. And she filmed TikToks from inside of the property and posted content with the mansion behind her like it was some weird lifestyle flex. So not only was she flexing a mansion she didn't own, but she was also pulling up to the mansion in a Porsche. So one would at least think if you're driving around in a Porsche, you can afford your own housing. But this absolute genius described herself as a pro se litigation coach, meaning she represents herself in legal matters and gives advice to others in doing the same. So naturally, neighbors started noticing that something was extremely off here. And when nothing happened after reporting it to the police and trying to go through all the proper channels, a 19-year-old college student named Ian Chen filed criminal complaints himself for trespassing and fourth-degree burglary. And that's what finally pushed this into court. So last month, Judge C. Moffitt found her guilty on all counts, which raises the question that genuinely does not make sense whatsoever. How do you go to jail for squatting in a mansion and then get out and immediately go back to the same mansion? Well, to explain that, we have to talk about the world of American law, which gets even more complex when every state has their own set of laws. So it's all different. But apparently in Maryland, when someone is convicted in district court, they have the right to appeal that conviction to a higher court. So in this case, we're in Maryland. So there, when someone is convicted in district court, they have the right to appeal that conviction to a higher court. In this case, circuit court. And when you file an appeal, you can post what's called an appeal bond. And that's exactly what she did. She was sentenced to 90 days and then she served 11. And once that bond is accepted, the sentence is basically paused while the appeal moves forward. So that means the 90 days aren't fully erased. It's just essentially on hold. So now her case is being moved to the circuit court, where they will now have a new pretrial conference on March 6th. So legally speaking, she's not done with the case. It's still active, which is insane because if you remember from my last video on this, her case went on for 9 months already before she actually served her grand sentence of 11 days in jail. So I mean, come on, this has gone on for long enough, but she's gonna keep delaying it because apparently she's professional at this. And I guess there's also just no real penalties for squatters either. So But I feel like if you were already convicted of trespassing in a property and then you decide to return, shouldn't you automatically be removed from that property? One would think so, but apparently not. And that's because criminal charges and property possession, I guess, are just two different lanes in the legal system. So being found guilty of trespassing punishes the act, but it doesn't transfer physical control of the house back to whoever owns it. That part usually requires a separate civil process. And I guess when the property is bank owned, tied up in foreclosure, and sitting vacant, that process can move very slowly. So even though she went to jail once she posted bond and appealed, the criminal sentence is just paused, but the physical occupancy issue is still a completely separate fight, which is just how you end up in this bizarre situation where someone can go to jail for squatting, get out on an appeal, and then return to the exact same property while the case continues. This is insane. But the sad thing is, in Maryland, squatting itself is not legal. But, and massive but here, if someone is inside a vacant property and there's no violent break-in happening in front of a police, officers can't call it trespassing, which still requires court proceedings. And once someone has been physically living in a home, even unlawfully, removing them still usually requires going through an eviction process, which includes a whole list of things like notice to quit, court filings, a hearing, a warrant of restitution, sheriff removal, and so on and so on. This is just a massive pain in the butt for everyone in this neighborhood, because as a neighbor there, you have no idea what's going on in this house. And as we also found out, she was living with another dude who had a warrant for his arrest, and he was also arrested the same time as her. So, I mean, this is just a massive legal hold that she's taken advantage of. Not to mention, she's living inside a mansion with lights on, water running, and packages being delivered. Because if utilities were already active at minimum service levels, which is common for vacant properties, because, you know, you don't want mold in your property, so you kind of need to run the AC at least. So, she might have not even needed to turn on the power in the first place, so she's probably stealing the power as well. So, I guess all of us normal people who don't go out and steal properties, we have to pay for the record high power bills, but she might not even have to. But I mean, even if she had to pay for the utilities are like billing relationships and not really title verification systems. It's not like you're registering a car where you need to prove that this is actually your place or your car or your property. In theory, someone can just be inside the house, they can appear established, and they can just receive mail. So from there, they can pay utility bills. And until a court process fully plays out, law enforcement can't just override that without orders. And even though I hate this thing is still going on, I'm definitely interested to see how it plays out in court. Because the first time around, she represented herself. But now she has a lawyer. And he doesn't seem, how do I put this? He doesn't seem like the best attorney.
We spoke with Alex Webster about his client.
How would your client, Ms. Tamika Good, get inside a $2.3 million property?
Cut. I don't know if I can answer that. Allegedly. Can I cut?
We're
Rolling.
we're rolling, my friend. Yeah.
Well, Miss Good did her research. She found out that a certain property was under the control of a certain group and that there was a title issue. Due to the title issue, she was able to assume the property under squatters' rights.
So in Maryland, there isn't a particular squatter right. Am I missing something?
Well, it's not a particular squatter's right, but it's known as squatter right.
Why would you take that interview? So, that's attorney Alex J. Webster III. And I can honestly say that she might have been better off representing herself after seeing that. Like, what is going on here, guys? Like, come on. If I hadn't spent all this time looking into this case and verifying everything, I would think this is a parody. How is this not a parody, honestly? Because if this wasn't real, this would have been an amazing comedy sketch. But I guess what her new lawyer is helping her argue is that there's no evidence that she broke in. They're saying the title issues created confusion and that legal loopholes played a role in how residency was claimed. Come on! She knows it's not her house. She knows she didn't sign a lease agreement. She knows she didn't buy the house. Let's be real here. Also, if she's living by herself and with one other dude who had a warrant for his arrest, why do they need 7,500 square foot? That is a nightmare amount of house just to upkeep. Well, to be fair, she's a squatter, so she's probably not doing any upkeep. But regardless, you don't just like accidentally wander into a foreclosed property, change the locks, furnish it, and film TikToks from the inside and LARP like it's your own house for nearly a year. This is crazy. This is so brazen and shameless. Like, how are you not embarrassed about doing this? And then on top of that, she was convicted And then she appealed the conviction on the basis of, well, there's no evidence of a break-in. Are you serious? So here's where all this stands right now. She's out on a $5,000 appeal bond. Her case is now in early March, and until the appeal is resolved, the 90-day sentence is essentially paused. And in the meantime, what you're watching unfold is the gap between criminal court and property enforcement. Either way, this is moving so much slower than what it should, and way slower than what the neighbors are comfortable with. But I guess that's just going after her plan. But regardless, I'll keep you guys updated on the story, so feel free to subscribe if you're new, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.